What is up, guys? It's Red back once again. Quick announcement before we do get started with the video. My Discord is now officially open. I will have the link in the description as well as on my main profile. So if any of you guys want to come on by and talk, I will be there. As you know, I'm pretty active in the comments section of my videos, so you can expect that same kind of activity from me in the Discord. But moving along to the topic at hand, I'm sure all of you are already aware that Sakurai has tweeted out that Nintendo did choose the DLC roster for Smash Ultimate. Now, I've seen a lot of people talking. This has gotten a huge reaction. So I kind of wanted to peel all of this back a bit and dive into what this might mean and the possible pros and cons of Nintendo being in charge of choosing this roster. So out of the gate, we need to examine Sakurai's tweet again. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate DLC lineup is now complete. This time the selection was made entirely by Nintendo. I decided we can create a fighter based on their selection, then come up with the plan. Now, the first thing I want to note is that this tweet was probably done by an official translator. This is not, relying on Google Translate, so we can assume everything here is worded properly. Now, what are the possibilities for what happened? I've seen a lot of people honing in on the last sentence. I decide we can create a fighter based on their selection, then come up with a plan, and using that sentence to suggest that Sakurai has had a lot of input with these selections, or even that he has the final say. Now, I don't read it that way at all. Hear me out. Nintendo have been able to observe Sakurai's brilliant work for over many years now. They know what he's capable of. He's made a moveset for a freaking potted plant. It is very unlikely that Sakurai would not be able to make Nintendo's suggestions work in a gameplay sense. So unless there are trademark issues at hand, I don't see how Sakurai would be able to reject their character wants. The only possible trouble I could see him having might be a character like Slime, who could be a bit challenging to work out a moveset for. But again, this is Sakurai we're talking about. He is incredibly creative when designing these movesets. So for me, the two possibilities were likely A, Nintendo came to Sakurai with a list of 5 characters. They asked him if he could make them work. If one wouldn't work, they then passed him another name. Or scenario B, Nintendo came to Sakurai with a list of about 10 to 15 characters and gave him some input on which they should go with. If we're going based off the tweet itself, I think it leans more to scenario A. If Sakurai truly had a decent amount of input with the selection, I'm not sure the tweet would be worded the way it is, or even if it would be published at all. The tweet definitely sounds like scenario A, where Nintendo did in fact bring him 5 characters and he couldn't make one of them work. Thus he added the "I decide if we can create a fighter based on their selection" part of the tweet. Now, there's no way to know for sure what happened, but I feel like these are the two most likely scenarios of what did. But moving on from there, let's have a look at why some people might be worried about Nintendo choosing the fighters. I feel like especially in recent history, Nintendo has developed this reputation of being extremely hit or miss with their decisions. There doesn't seem to be much in between. Their online has been extremely lackluster, and their sales and memberships are reflecting that, causing the president of Nintendo to come out and share publicly that they are working on methods of improvement. Now, I'm not here to debate and list the host of reasons why their online is extremely lackluster. I can do that in its own video if you guys want, but the majority of people and fans seem to agree that their online is lackluster and they have spoken with their wallets. And then there's the voice app. Something Nintendo keeps trying to shove down your throats, no matter how many people speak up against it and say they don't want to use it and would prefer an actual built-in voice system for Switch Online. But Nintendo can be very set in their own ways at times. They have their own reasons for doing this, and I suspect part of the reason is because they don't want an easy accessible voice chat for their family-friendly consoles where little kids can get access to it. But whatever the case, it proves to still be a cause for uproar amongst the fans. And then there is the way in which they treat content creators. Nintendo makes it pretty difficult for especially Let's Play content creators who try to implement game footage onto their YouTube channels. It has been this way since 2015 now with their creators program, and they are seemingly one of the only big companies in the industry that create all these extra hoops and regulations for people to have to jump through. Even YouTube has come out themselves and said multiple times to the public that Nintendo can do a better job working with content creators, yet no major improvements have been made. It's still a constant struggle for millions of creators out there to do what they want and what they love to do, because Nintendo can prove to be difficult to work with. These, in my eyes, are some of the biggest missteps that Nintendo has made recently. And it's clear to see sometimes when they are making decisions, they do not have what the fans want in mind. Instead, at many times, they can be incredibly stubborn and stuck in their own ways. They've tried to force a mediocre online system onto members, with the caveat being it's a third the cost of competing consoles. But the features those other consoles offer on their online are well worth the extra $40 and then some. They've tried to force a terrible phone app and horrid messaging system down the throats of their fans, and they have not budged on that. In fact, they've doubled down on it even harder, featuring it in back-to-back Nintendo Directs. They've tried to force their monetization regulations on content creators for years now, despite few other companies actually doing this. This is the same Nintendo who is in charge of the roster. And there is always the looming dread that they will use the DLC characters to shill or promote upcoming games as their main inclusion for the roster. Everyone knows Pokemon has their 8th generation coming up next year, and Fire Emblem Three Houses is not long after that. They could easily force 2 of those characters into the roster just to help promote those games. So I can understand why people are worried about this. They have reason to be. As I said, Nintendo has been extremely hit or miss in recent years. There is a world where they botch 4 out of the 5 of these DLC characters. However, it is not all doom and gloom. There are some reasons to feel okay as well. The biggest pro in my eyes for Nintendo choosing the DLC is they know exactly who we want. They have access to that Smash ballot data. At the end of the day, they still want this DLC to make money. So I can see a world where they do throw 3 top voted ballot characters into the mix to accompany 2 promo characters. Is it a guarantee that they do this? No, of course not. But I find some comfort still in the fact that the ballot data does exist and they have it and could have been willing to use it to help with their selections. Now, typically, I would also say that Nintendo would have had the advantage of getting to gauge the fan reactions from these reveals and from these Nintendo Directs. The Grinch leak and things of that nature could have provided valuable input and valuable talking points if they had people looking at forums and gauging the reactions of fans. But I think given how everything was worded and how everything has shaken down, it did seem like Nintendo had already planned the DLC for quite some time now. So I don't think anything that has happened in the past few months would have had any effect on the DLC or been able to sway anything overall. Some other positives are that the DLC for Mario Kart 8 has been really solid overall and proves that sometimes Nintendo does know what people want and are willing to give it to them. And though I have not played the game myself, I've heard that Kirby Star Allies has had steady waves of DLC as well that has also been pleasing to the fans. And Nintendo also made the decision to not region lock the Switch, which is always a big plus in my eyes. There are definitely still good decisions out there that Nintendo has made that can leave you feeling okay with them being in charge of this. But it's, as I said, this feast or famine, hit or miss reputation they have now developed that should leave you at least a little concerned for them being the ones pulling the trigger on this DLC. I have a feeling this Fighter's Pass is going to be quite the mixed bag when it comes to reception and reaction of these characters, but the sales may not reflect that with how many people have already jumped on board with the blind Fighter's Pass. That is certainly going to help band-aid some of the sales if they really do throw some missed characters out there. We will just have to wait and see what they have in store for us this time around. But I do not blame a single person out there who is waiting to see this DLC before buying it. It seems like the wise decision. But that brings us to the end of this video, guys. Let me know your thoughts on all of this down in the comments below. And remember, my Discord is open now. The link will remain in the description below as well as on my main profile. Don't forget to watch some of my previous videos if you have time and subscribe with notifications on for more future content. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.